Hello! Today I'm going to review this lovely set of 72 Chromaflow pencils by Derwent. I have previously done a review on this 24 set, which I'll link at the end of this one. I haven't actually used the pencils very much because there's not that many of them, and I always find 24 sets to be a bit limited when it comes to doing artworks. But I really liked the pencils, so when they released a much larger 72 set, I finally ended up buying it for myself for Christmas last year, and now let's get into it. So for some reason the Chromaflows are in a different shaped tin when compared to all of the other 72 sets that they have. The other tins are much wider but shallower than this one, and I have a feeling that the Chromaflows are in direct competition with the Prismacolor Premier pencils because they're in the same sort of shaped tin. The plastic's still on mine, I have not opened them yet, so I thought I'd do that on camera. And we can enjoy the glory of a brand new set of coloured pencils because it is always so satisfying when opening the tin for the first time and sliding my scissors through the plastic. So I'll just peel all of that off and throw it in the bin. Then we can just look at the lovely pencils and of course the all-important smell test, because new pencil smell has to be up there with new car smell. And now I'll pull out all of the trays so we can see all of the pencils inside. There are 3 layers in this particular tin as opposed to the usual 2 layers for Derwent, but I don't really mind this. Although it is a little bit of a pain having to get the plastic inserts out of the tin, but those are first world problems. Not even a problem really. But here are all of the pencils laid out beautifully, all grouped by colours of course. They have dark barrels with the colours on the tips of the pencils, and they're a little bit skinnier than some of the other pencils by Derwent, which also gives me the impression they're like the Prismacolors. So I've got the big book of colour charts, but mine was done in 2020 and it's out of date. I have Derwent Coloursoft and then it goes over the page into Derwent Drawing, I think, if I can ever flip that page. Yes, so it is missing the Chromaflows out of here, which is kind of annoying, but the good thing is that they do have free pages you can download off their website, including the full list of Derwent Chromaflow pencils, so I'm really happy about that. I'm so glad I didn't have to write out all of those names, so I'm just going to swatch on this. It's just regular printer paper, but it will be fine for swatching, and I did speed it up because it just took me ages to do this as per usual. All of the pencils have their names on them, which is really great. I hate it when pencils don't have names. And the number in brackets behind each colour name is the Lightfast rating. So number 8 is the highest Lightfast, and number 1 would be the least Lightfast. There are no 1s in this set, but I did notice there were a few 2s. So for example, the hot pink that I just coloured in is labelled as a 2, so it's not going to be very Lightfast. Okay, I just spotted a 1 there. Orchid! That's a number 1, not Lightfast at all. This doesn't really surprise me for the pinkish section. Those usually are really difficult to get Lightfast. A lot of them seem to be mid-range around the 5s, and then there are quite a few 8s as well, particularly in the earth tones, which is also not surprising because earth tones are just naturally Lightfast. So if you're looking for a set of really Lightfast pencils, this set is not going to be for you, unless you pick out individual colours. But if you want a full set of Lightfast pencils, then I highly recommend the Derwent Lightfast, which are very, very good, and I did a Lightfast test on those. They held up very well. But what I do like about this Chromaflow set is it has some really beautiful bright colours in it. I love the whole colour palette of the 72 set. It's so much better than the 24 set. There's a lot more variety, and I know that there is potential to make lots of artworks. I'll just keep them in my sketchbook. I would also use these pencils for colouring in, and those would be in books as well, so we won't worry about the Lightfastness too much. I'll just finish off the swatching, and then we'll just take a closer look at all of these colours together. There's a nice range of light colours and also much darker ones, so this is great for getting a broad range of values, from shadows to highlights. This set seems to focus mainly on brighter colours, but there are some earthy tones in there as well. And here's me finding all the ones that said 2 on them. I totally missed the orchid, which was number 1. And there are also quite a lot of 3s, 4s and 5s in the set, sort of mid-range Lightfastness. They coloured out easily on this fairly thin paper, but I do want to try some much thicker paper and go for something a little more artist grade, so I've got this smooth heavyweight paper by Rowney. This is the first time I'm using it. I'm really excited to get this pad of paper opened, and I'll see if I can get a full artwork done with these pencils. I was going to colour in something in my book, but then I just decided I was going to do an artwork from scratch. Let's get going! The picture today is of a mandarin duck, photographed by Les Little in the Free Reference Photos for Artists Facebook group. I did lightly trace the image onto my paper first because I knew it was just going to take forever to try and draw that. There's so much detail in this duck. And now I'm going over everything with a really light layer of the Chromaflow pencils. I just wanted to get all of the colours in before I started committing to darker layers. And I'm adding in a lot more detail as I go. But having that initial outline there just made it so much easier to do the rest of the drawing. I haven't done many artworks with coloured pencils lately, and I'd forgotten just how time consuming it is. I mean, I tried to do this as quickly as I could for the video, but it still took me many hours over a couple of days. And it's not even that detailed in comparison to doing something hyper-realistic, but I don't have that time or patience. I just like to do something that looks like the picture but doesn't have to be exactly the same. It's a drawing, not a photograph. But these pencils were really nice. They worked so well on this lovely smooth paper. I'm really liking the paper as well, so I'll try and remember to link it in the description below, along with the Chromaflow pencils. So the pencils themselves, they're waxed based, quite soft, and they put out a decent amount of pigment as well. I mean, I'm still on my light layer here, but once I start adding more layers on top, you can really see the colours starting to develop and become more saturated. They're similar to Prismacolors, but not quite as waxy or soft as the Prismas. They're a little bit firmer, which means they won't break as easily, and they also sharpen up very nicely in my pencil sharpener. The points took a little bit of time to wear down as well, possibly because I was using the smooth paper. Now, I wasn't going to use solvents, but in the end I decided to see how well the pencils would actually break down and dissolve into some odorless mineral spirits, and they worked really well. You could see how much more saturated and vibrant they become once I added the OMS over the top, and I'm just using cotton buds or Q-tips to blend in that mineral spirit. For the spirits to work well, you do need to layer the pencils quite a bit before you actually start to dissolve them, but you can probably see here how much brighter the pencils get once they really blend into the tooth of the paper. And just a tip, if you're using mineral spirits, you really need to let it dry before you start going over the top of it again with more pencils, because it will start to damage the paper if you leave it wet, and it just makes the pencils go funny too. Oh my gosh, these spiky feathers were so hard to draw. I don't think I did very well with them because I was getting very impatient and I just wanted this little part to be done as quickly as possible. But it's close enough, I think. The rest of the duck actually worked out really well, and there were no issues at all with the pencils. I've been using Prismacolors quite a lot lately in my spare time off camera, and I have been really enjoying them. They are definitely softer, and they do give a bigger pigment payout when compared with the Chromaflows. And in Australia, the Chromaflow pencils seem to be just a bit more expensive compared to the Prismacolors when looking at the 72 sets. But the benefit of the Chromaflows is that they don't break as easily as Prismacolors tend to do, and I didn't notice any kind of wax bloom from the Chromaflow pencils when compared to the Prismas, which do put out so much more wax and can start to have issues when layering. I got to this point in the drawing, and then I decided I was going to paint in the background with some watercolour just to save a bit of time, because it would have just taken forever to colour that in, and I also want the water just to be very pale and look a lot smoother than the pencils. I added in some reflections from the duck as well, and I think that the watercolours gave a more effective look to the reflections. Once the paper had completely dried, I went over some of it with pencils just to tie it all together and give a little bit more definition to the water. Even though this is drawing paper and not watercolour paper, it didn't buckle too badly, although it did a bit, but nothing that some heavy books won't fix when I sit them on top of the paper to straighten it out again. So now I'm working on the finishing details of the whole picture, just working my way around, going to places that I felt like more pencil was required, and the pencils worked well enough over the top of the watercolour with no real issues there either. So overall, I was happy with the performance of the pencils. I'm just finishing up here with the signature, and here's the final image. I mean, it's not super detailed, but I do like how it turned out. I like the combination of the bright green and pink colours combined with the earthy browns, greens and ochres. And the black pencil is nice and dark as well. So overall, I'm really happy with this set of Chromaflow pencils. I think they're really nice and I plan on using them a lot more. I like the colour palette in the set. There's lots of bright colours, which always makes me happy. And I think it's a nice all-rounder set. It's much better than the 24, just because there's so many more colours to choose from, which I always like with coloured pencils. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give it a thumbs up if you did, and click the subscribe button for more videos. Here's my first review of the 24 set, and I'll have another coloured pencil video on that side. Have a great day, and I'll see you all again in my next video. Swatch you later. Bye!